Okay, so we are at Friday Harbor in the Beechcraft Bonanza. Is it the B36 or G36? G36. We are going to do a tour of some of the islands in the area of Friday Harbor. So if you look at Little Nav map, we're going to take off from Friday Harbor, fly over to Lopez Island, over to Blakely Island, Orcas I, Roche Harbor, and then back into Friday Harbor. And it's really just a touch and go circuit, really. Oh, somebody just spawned on the runway in something entirely inappropriate for Friday Harbor, but okay, we'll let them get on with that. So, first things first, let's go and get the aircraft up and running. Batteries, pitot heat, avionics, master switch. Let's turn the air conditioning on as well. Oh, this inoperative, the air conditioning, that's great, isn't it? So we're going to freeze to death because they haven't implemented it. Oh well. So, what else can we do? Lights, strobe, beacon, nav, prop de-ice. We'll probably need that. And has this got a fuel cut-off or mixture? Mixture goes to rich. Propeller goes to flat out because we're going to go fast. And then we turn. Is there a fuel? I was expecting that engine to cut out. I'm not sure in the G36 if it's got a fuel control. It's down here. What does it say? Fuel selector. Okay, so we can just leave that where it is. Okay. Flaps to takeoff position. And we try to avoid the guy with the tug as we accelerate away and start turning immediately to try and avoid him with our wingtip, and we just avoid him. Sit up in the cockpit so we can see over the nose. It's pretty cold in Friday Harbor. I've put it onto broken cloud. The real weather at the moment was like pea soup fog, you couldn't see through it. So I've reduced the weather away from real. Oh, there's a couple of jets on the parking. Interesting. Okay, so let's pull ourselves onto the runway if we don't overshoot the taxiway. Trying to do too many things at once here. Looks quite wet and horrible, doesn't it, on the ground? Okay. So full throttle, we'll rotate at about 100 knots, something like that. A little bit before, so nose up, gear up, and flaps up. So we're climbing out over the trees to the south of Friday Harbor. Going to turn left for Lopez Island almost immediately. If we look out over our port wing, you can see the up runway will be over there. I'm just leaving Friday Harbor behind. Okay. Just trim this plane out to go level. Have a look from outside. Zooming along. So goodbye Friday Harbor. So you can see a beacon light flashing over there for the airfield. Knots, which is fine. Keep an eye out. So we're approaching Lopez Island. We're going to drop down, drop the flaps and the gear, and fall in to Lopez Island. And you can see there's a blank patch in the trees just near our left wingtip. That's where the runway is. So we're going to need to lose some airspeed. We're getting a warning that we've got the gear up. That's just because we've gone to 0 throttle. It's nothing to worry about. So there's the runway. Flaps down. You will see the dropping the flaps has arrested our speed even though we are descending. The flaps are like barn doors on this thing, as you can see.
500.
Let's sit up so we can see over the nose. The first touch and go done, so we'll accelerate along the runway. Rotate, and we're back up again. Flaps back up, gear back up. Just hold it steady to accelerate as we climb. Have a look at the map. So we're going to turn right 22 degrees for Blakely Island. So turning right. So I believe from memory that the runway at Blakely Island is just down in between that spit of land. If we look over the nose again, let's cut the throttle back a bit. So yeah, the runway is just down in the hollow down there. Just stabilise the aircraft. Still climbing gently. There's no need to go any higher than about 1,000 feet. There's quite a bit of turbulence around today. Let's have a look from outside. Yeah, you can see the plane moving around. Passing over a windmill. Let's see if we can see it from the outside view. There we go. Okay. So this is Spencer's Landing Marina down here. So let's get lined up for our next touch and go. You can see the runway directly in front of us. Okay, gear down. Quite good how you can hear the air hitting the undercarriage in Flight Simulator, and this is just a stock aircraft. The G36 is one of the aircraft that comes with the simulator, so it's not anything special. Just keeping an eye on the indicated airspeed. Don't want to get any lower than about 80 knots really. I love the way the waves are simulated as well. You can see the water rolling into this bay. Okay, it's touch and go time. And we're down. Full throttle. Rotate and back up. Gear up. Flaps up. Just hold it steady for a moment. Let's have a look at the routes. So we need to go 321 degrees next. So let's get that trimmed out on the elevators so it will climb out on its own without me looking after it too much. And then I can go and move the map. So the next leg, 321 degrees. So we can cut back the throttle now. Gonna go in between these hills over here. Have a look at the outside view while we're on the way. Flight sim looks very good, doesn't it? It's a shame you sometimes still get patterning in the textures, but I guess you can't help all of that. Okay, so we're going to go in between these two hills. As you can see, we're going to thread a route through past the left of Moran State Park.
500.
Stay low over the trees, and we will stay close to the tree line, go out over the bay, do a 180, come back in over to Orcas, and then down towards Roche Harbor. Okay, so we go and dip down and go close to the lake in the middle. Let's go for this gap in the trees. Stay close to the tree line. Oh, and the simulation has paused. This happened to me earlier with the A320 flight I recorded, and we just have to sit and wait it out. I've never figured out if this is an issue with the simulator itself or the servers, but you tend to notice the weather reloads when this happens. It does it very, very quickly. You'll see it. It may be 10-15 seconds. So we just have to sit here and wait this out. This bug has been going on for about 18 months. There you go. It's just reloaded. When it happens, all of the multiplayer aircraft vanish and load back in slowly, so it may be that it's multiplayer aircraft that are causing it. It's certainly not the spec of this PC, because this PC has got 16 gig of RAM, Flight Sim is the only thing running, and it's got a 3080 NVIDIA 3080 graphics card with a bucket load of fast RAM on that as well. It's got, I think it's 12 gig or something crazy. Just of graphics memory. So it's certainly not the spec that's causing it. Typically system RAM, it only uses about 3 gig I think to run Flight Simulator. It uses about 2/3 of the the system RAM. So if we go and zoom in and have a look at Orcas, typically that pause will only happen once during a flight ever, and it's typically about 15 minutes in that it happens. It is slightly maddening when it does it. Okay, so the runway is in between the trees down there. You can't quite see it from this vantage point. So let's do a bit of a Spitfire approach. We're getting a warning because we haven't put the gear down yet, but that's fine. So there we go, you can see the runway. So we'll come in at a shallow angle, sorry, a sharp angle to the runway, an acute angle, and just roll it in at the last moment. Okay, so gear down. Flaps down. We're stalling. And we're down. Full throttle. Rotate. And we're up. Gear up. Flaps up. We're going for speed now. Going to skirt around the back of this tree line and then off to the right, and then we're looking for 222 degrees or slightly more for the next airfield. So we're going to go across this ridge line and down the left side of the next spit of land. Okay, we're on our way. So we're going towards Roche Harbor. We're going to probably fly past it, come back into runway 07 at Roche Harbor. It's probably the easiest way. The scenery around here is stunning, isn't it? So while we're flying along on this leg, I may as well tell you a little bit about a group that I usually fly with. If you've watched any of my videos before, you'll have heard me talk about it. So I help run an online community called virtualflight.online. We have a Facebook group and a Discord server, and we meet up at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, on a Sunday evening at 8 o'clock in the evening. GMT, so 2000 Zulu hours. We have a regular flight that's posted on the Microsoft Flight Simulator forums as well on their event calendar. We have a regular flight on Sunday evenings, which is just a VFR flight, flying somewhere in the world that's usually quite exotic, you know, middle of nowhere, that nobody would ever guess to go usually. Doing basically airport hopping anywhere in the world, and there's usually 20-25 of us, so it's 20-30 miles in between airfields usually, so you get kind of 10 minutes conversation along the way. We learn a lot from each other on those flights about the simulator and about aviation in general, because everybody has stories to tell. And if you ever have questions with your simulator, it's a great group to be able to pick their brains, because obviously most of them have come up through various versions of Flight Simulator and X-Plane and DCS and all the rest of it. So everybody has lots and lots of experience. But yeah, so virtualflight.online is a great community to go and have a look at. Okay, so we're just flying along. So Roche Harbor will be our final touch and go before we head home to Friday Harbor, so it shouldn't take too long. We're zipping across the bay here. Should we have a little bit of fun and see if we can see our reflection in the water? So if we... Let's see how close we need to get to see our reflection. The trouble is with doing this, you get into the realms of the ground effects, and yeah, that was far too close. Couldn't see it very easily today, the water's a bit choppy. You can sometimes play games with putting the undercarriage down and scraping the wheels through the water, but it tends to work far better on flat, calm lakes than water with any kind of surface perturbations going on, because you get to see much more accurately where your reflection is in terms of the water. Okay, so we're just coming up. The runway is directly behind this slight ridge here. You can see it on the map. So we're seeing the ridge and the runway's right behind it, so we're going to scoot round, start losing some speed. We'll go around the back of this island here. Let's get the undercarriage down. Let's see if we can see it from the outside view as we come round. Need to get the flaps down. There we go, we can see the runway, look, through the gap. So we'll follow the natural route in, avoiding the trees. Down, full throttle. And rotate. Gear up. So, which way do we go? We just follow the peninsula basically back to Friday Harbor now. So if we stay to the right edge of the land here, it should take us all the way home. Let's have a look at the map. Yeah, that's all good. So we'll just skirt around the edge of the peninsula and then we'll turn in towards Friday Harbor. We could probably see the beacon light on the airfield when we get a little bit closer. Yeah, it's out over there, I think. Or was that water that I saw? It's interesting that we can see the beacon of the runway out over the sea. Maybe it's behind the land and we can't quite see it yet because it's going to be over here somewhere. So coming back into Friday Harbour to finish our quick tour of the islands in the G36, the Bonanza. It's one of the stock aircraft with Flight Simulator, and I actually really like flying it. I've done lots and lots of group flights flying it with Virtual Flight Online. Right, there's the runway. So we're going to make our turn. Gear down to make the alarm go away.
Don't sink, don't sink, don't sink.
Flaps down.
Don't sink, don't sink, don't sink.
There's somebody on the runway, isn't there?
Don't sink, 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 don't sink.
So is that aircraft going to take off? Or are we going to have to go round?
Don't sink,
Or do we just ignore him and fly straight through him?
don't sink, don't sink, don't sink, don't sink, don't sink.
Oh, that don't sink warning is really repetitive, isn't it?
Don't sink, 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 don't sink,
Well,
don't sink,
I am going to be nice and do a circuit to avoid landing on top of them.
don't sink, don't sink, don't sink,
Gear up.
don't sink, don't sink, don't sink, don't sink, don't sink, don't sink, don't
Flaps up.
Don't sink, don't sink, don't sink, don't sink, don't sink,
Oh, I wish that would shut up.
don't sink,
We can't even shut up with the alert button, can we?
sink, don't sink, don't sink, don't sink, don't sink,
Is that a bug that it's still saying it?
don't sink,
It hasn't said it for the rest of the journey.
don't sink, don't sink, don't sink, don't sink, don't sink.
Okay, let's see if they're going to get out of the way by the time we come back round. Someone else landing now. Right on top of them by the look of it. Is that a helicopter? Looks slow enough to be one. Or maybe it's a STOL plane of some description. I wonder if they have any clue that they're getting in the way. It does kind of annoy me that people queue up on the runway. They really shouldn't be on the runway if they're just messing around. I mean, okay, I know it's only a game. But even so, it's just courtesy, really. Okay, it looks like they're moving. Gear down. Flaps down. Try and land this time. I wonder which way the camera's pointing. Okay, flaps up. Exit runway. And go and park up. So there we go. tour of some of the islands near Friday Harbor. Okay, someone's playing around at reversing in a... is that a 330 or something? Is there anywhere for us to park? Yeah, we're going to park right here. Okay, let's go and switch the engine off. So we pull the fuel back, propeller, and turn the ignition off, and we could obviously go through and turn everything off around the airplane, which doesn't take long to do with this aircraft. And turn the batteries off, alternators off, all the rest of it. So yeah, job done. So there you go, nice little flight around Friday Harbor in the Beechcraft G36 Bonanza in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Hopefully it was fun to watch. If it wasn't, I apologise. And I'll see you again soon.